All right. Hello, once again. This is Antonio, and I'm coming at you with another exciting video. Now, we are talking about the effects of when a company of 99 years shuts its doors, and soon we're going to interview a driver that drove for Yellow Trucking for about 20 years. And in the process of the company closing down, he loses his insurance, he losing his pension, and we want to talk about the effects of that. And also, we have an owner operator on the line. If you want to introduce yourself, you're very welcome to. And then we're going to go ahead and read an article, and then we're going to get into some discussion because in the trucking world, who speaks up for the truckers? And that's the one reason why we are doing this video. So if you want to introduce yourself and tell them about your company, you're very well open to do so.
Hey, yeah. So I've been a driver. I've been in the transportation industry about like 20 years right now, and majority of that has been a company driver. I've been a company driver probably about 12 years, and I've driven anything from flatbed, doubles, vans, containers. I ran all 48. I worked a lot of some in California. So all different parts of the country and different kinds of freight and things. So I got a good exposure of kind of what the industry is. It always switches up, especially in the last 5 years. It's been doing a lot of quick changes. And yeah, so right now I'm an owner operator. I do I have I own van trailers and flatbed trailers. I have Conestoga trailer, and right now I'm just I do drive myself as well, dispatch myself, and I have owner operators under me as well. So just a gist of the little bit about who I am, and I just let you kind of go into your questioning of where we kind of what you had and what the topics are, Tony.
Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into the first one first while we're waiting to interview so we can read the information about Yellow. So what we're going to talk about is our owner operators making less. And I saw this article while I was looking at some more information speaking about Yellow and Yellow Trucking itself. And I was like, okay, let me go ahead and dive into and speak more about um, what speaking about how some people feel about owner operators. So I'm gonna read this and then I'm gonna get your feedback as a person who has owned a truck, have worked for a trucking company. You have been in this business for 20 years as a driver. And let's read this and let's see if it's the truth. All right. So what it says, one moment. Let's go ahead and okay.
Hello?
Okay. So
can you hear me?
All right. So right. So we are talking about this is yeah, go ahead and yeah, we can hear you.
Your
Go ahead and
volume
introduce
is low.
yourself really quick.
Your volume is low.
How's my volume? Can you hear me, Aaron?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Aaron, can you?
Yeah.
On my
Aaron can hear
side.
me perfect. I got my volume up.
On me. All my speakers up.
Okay, so let's talk about this. For some reason, owner operators, it looks like the end of the road. All right. This is what it's talking about. And maybe we could speak about this. At least that's the current market is tough enough for owner operators that a significant chunk of them are considering leaving it altogether. At least that's according to a recent Freight Waves research survey. When asked to select statements that applied to them, 35.2 of self-identified owner operators checked if the market does not rebound materially by the end of 2023, I will leave the industry. Meanwhile, about 21% said they are having trouble funding loads to haul, suggesting woes weren't primarily volume related, at least not yet. Fewer than 8% said they were considering signing on with a larger carrier. It's no wonder the owner operators are having a tough time. Last year saw a brutal convergence of sky-high fuel, equipment insurance costs, and all spot market rates dash downward. The medium owner-operator in this survey did not see revenue grow 7% from 2021, from 224,000 to 240,000, but expenses far outpace that success. They paid 22.9 more to operate in 2022. As could be expected, the trend exacerbated when looking just as respondents who said they were ready to hang it up. Interestingly enough, the group saw strong revenue growth year over year, earning 215,000 in 2022, but expenses spun out of control to 152,000, a 38.6 increase. So let's go ahead and remove this and let's get some insight on what do y'all feel? How do y'all feel about the market? And as an owner operator, I want to come to you first, Aaron. What do you think about your operating costs from 2022 to 2023? Do you think it's more or less?
Well, inside the business, the cost of in 2022, you had so much high cost in fuel, and of course all the other kind of with the rates didn't change with the fuel. Mainly, that was one of the biggest costs that was affecting a lot of the owner operators. In addition to that, to the freight reduction and part of fuel. And so that was the big cost. And a lot of times those costs kind of get into the business. It get carried on to the next year. So you don't come into the years of plus, you're already down. So 2023 has been better, but the gas prices have almost went down. I would say almost at least 45%, it seems.
So what were y'all paying 1 point in gas and diesel?
Some parts of the country all the way up to $6. And Georgia,
$6. So
yeah, 5 something easy, it's 5 something a gallon. Now, now it's probably I think it went down. Yeah, it's a great reduction of where we were and where we at now. And the freight has kind of stayed at the volume of everything kind of stayed the same, it seems. One thing I've done is just went through specialty, where you're doing flatbed or, specialty flatbed, like with a covered flatbed, and, more, you have to travel out more. A lot of local work is like really saturating down. And when the prices are before, it's down. So you build your business model on, the $3 and the $4 a mile gas, and for the freight per mile, and you build your business model on that. And then with the reduction, and then between when 22 and 2 comes, and then you have the high gas there and all the other things that comes into trucking, it really starts affecting your business. And especially even if you have a small fleet, you're not able to take those kind of hits as far as profitability, as far as, the number thing. So 2023, better, the fuel is lower, the freight is kind of like here or there, but I think more of an effect on what happened in 2020. Yeah. So
I got you.
Yeah. So,
Okay. So what you saying now? Hold up. What are you saying, Tony? What are you saying?
Something. It gotta be something.
You can hear that?
Yeah, it gotta be something on your end. Like, we can hear everything on this end.
Yeah, it gotta be something on your end. No, but I can hear that banging sound.
Yeah, so
yeah, but one moment, Aaron, your mic is going in and out.
Is my mic going in?
It's like it's staticky a little bit.
Oh, my mic is?
Yeah, it goes in and out. Okay. It gotta be something with your Okay, so I can hear Aaron try to say something, Tony.
I can hear y'all now. If for some reason my Bluetooth not connecting or it's not acting right, couldn't hear y'all.
I can hear you perfect. Okay, so go
I
ahead.
hear y'all now, but it's real low. That's why I came outside to my truck to see if I could connect. I hear y'all better. Hold on one time. Let me try one more time. See if I can connect.
I can hear you perfect. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is everybody call me Maxwell. Hold on.
Okay, so
say something.
While we waiting on Mac, we can hear you perfect. We can hear you perfect. I can hear you perfect. And so anyways, go ahead and introduce yourself and explain to people about how yellow affected. Even if you can't hear us, we can hear you. Let's talk about the effects that yellow has had, that you have worked with this company for 20 years and by them shutting down. Give the people some insight how you are one of the 30,000 people that just recently lost your job, you lost your pension, and just give an insight on how you started the job and how you feel about the job, the downfall that you saw the job spreading, trending down. Give some insight.
Man, we've been through a lot. When I first got on that job back in July, August of 06.
Okay, so
Tony,
that's 17 years.
Getting laid off. You working and getting laid off right after Thanksgiving and everything. Come back after February. Sometimes we got laid off for a year. One time we got laid off for like 3-4 years. One time.
So let's talk about how the seniority. Let's talk about when you started and the seniority played a point of you having a job and not having a job.
Oh yeah. At one time when I first started, you only worked on the weekend. You might work Friday. You might work Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's it. And then the rest of the week you sit home. You have to find you a second job to go work. You know what I'm saying? Then sometimes you might don't get out at all. And it was one of the situations where you got to answer the phone if you call. If you call, you can get rolled up. They can lay you off and all that. It was something serious.
So because despite
a lot of people had lost before this pandemic happened, a lot of people had lost their job, their house, their family. It went from when I first started there, we used to get paid for everything. It wasn't nothing to bring home $2,500 a week, easy. You know what I'm saying? When you had people now making buku money. They used to pay you like when you had they used to have money at the terminal. I've got petty cash. Like say for instance, if they lay you down and you over your hours, they got to pay you over. They used to have petty cash at the job where they pay you cash when you get in. You know what I'm saying? We had some of the best hotels, and we had we had a lot of raggedy hotels. You know what I'm saying? If you was on the Southeastern Conference, you didn't really do any teamwork. You drove solo. You know what I'm saying? Put you in a hotel if you had to sleep overnight. When they stopped paying to the 401k, then they stopped doing with the pension, and then when they voted on, they needed 12 to 16% of your paycheck every week to try to stay afloat. They voted on it and gave it to them. They said they're gonna give us our money back at a certain time. We ain't never seen that money. At the end of it all.
Stop right there. Let's stop right there. If you can hear me, okay. Let's break down, if you can, for people that might work for Yellow and they can vouch for you. Of course, let's stop with so what did y'all have to give Yellow to keep going at one point? Yellow took that $700 million from the government, but they went through the Teamsters and they asked y'all to vote on.
They were saying they couldn't sustain. They were gonna have to close the doors. They needed help and all that. And
this was years ago. I'm talking about y'all had to vote like a year.
Oh yeah. This been going on for a while. This been going on even before that.
Let's give a breakdown on the first time that they asked y'all to give them back money, in a sense. how they ask y'all to pay into y'all pension
No,
to
no.
keep
The thing of it is, when they ask us, when they asked us for it, they kept taking it. They never stopped. They never stopped getting it. They never started giving us our money back. It ain't a
right. But
time
I
when they
thought it
went
was a
back.
situation, not to cut
You
you
said
off, but I
what?
thought it was a situation that came up where Yellow came to y'all and asked y'all to pay. That can they dip into y'all pensions and they're going to replace it basically? Did that
Yeah,
happen?
yeah. They did. They did all that, and
No,
they
give a breakdown. Give a
this
breakdown on how did this
from my
happen?
understanding, because I was gone, because I had surgery, but when I came back, from my understanding, when they got that money, that 700 million the first time,
Right.
they were supposed to give back. They
Oh, they
didn't.
were supposed to replace y'all pensions then.
Yeah, they were supposed to do all that then. Then they went back and got the other loan. They kept
Wow.
saying they was gonna give us our money back because it got to a point where they have outside freight, outside companies come in hauling our freight, and so we
Right.
filed on that. And when they do that, we get paid for that. They had to pay the drivers for
Wow.
other side companies coming in. So it just got to the point where everything they told us was a bunch of lies. You know what I'm saying? Ain't
Okay.
nobody believed in it. A lot of people had left. A lot of people had stayed. A lot of people been there 30 plus years. You know what I'm saying? Man, the number one run was going to Savannah back and forth. You know what I'm saying?
So what's in the seniority rating? What were you? Were you top 50 at one point? Where were you
Man,
at?
I remember when I started. I think when we started, I think they had like a 200 or 300 man board.
Okay.
Last time I checked, when I was at the job, I think I was at number 55, 54.
So
So
right
I've
now
been
you
there.
was at 54 before your surgery. And you was probably going to be in the top 20 at that point,
No, no,
right?
no, no, no. Yeah. No. When I left, I think I was at like 80 or something. So
Okay, but that's
when I
to go
came
out
back,
because of surgery. But
yeah,
you had
yeah.
surgery.
When I came back, I was like 50 something. I came down before I had my neck surgery. I
No,
came
let's
back.
clarify. Let's clarify. You had a leg surgery at one point because you fell on your leg. That
Yeah,
was
and
2 years
I was
ago.
off for 2 years for that. I was off for two
Right.
years for
And
that.
then you had a neck surgery on another accident. Not
Last
your
month.
fault.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So I'm
last
just saying,
month.
I'm just clarifying for the people that it was two different accidents. But go ahead.
Yeah. So different. And
So now you was 80 at one point before your leg surgery, and by the time you came back, you was 55.
yeah, 55, 54. I was like, I was getting up there. I was moving up pretty fast.
Wow. Okay. Now
You know what
I'm
I'm
just
saying?
trying to slow you down because we're trying to get the people that need to listen the circumstances that led to the demise of Yellow. We're talking about a company that has been in existence for 99 years. And this is a driver who have been with Yellow for almost 20 years. And he's speaking about the ups and downs he went through to advance with the company and how at one point it was lucrative. And then at the demise of the company, they start taking from the drivers. They took their pensions. And right now, they took your health insurance, correct?
Yeah, they took everything.
They took your health insurance, right?
Yeah, it took everything.
Okay, you got to tell the people what they took. So they told
Oh.
you got up
Well,
until
put it like this: the
Friday.
health insurance. Well, I put it like this. I stand corrected. The health insurance. I just talked to the union people this morning. Health
You talked to
insurance
Teamsters.
ends
The
on the
union hall
6th.
is Teamsters, right?
Yeah. The Teamsters they told us that
Okay.
the insurance, our health insurance ends this month on the 6th.
So you got up until Thursday to do everything you can when it comes down to your insurance. Because today
Yeah,
is
if I
the
got any medicine out there, or your kids, anything, you gotta get your affairs in order. That's all I can tell you.
you got to get everything in order by the 6th. And your child who has an underlying condition, will he be affected about this insurance?
Oh yeah, most definitely, most definitely. Most definitely, most
Okay,
definitely.
so
And that even
let's give a
changed. That even changed because I remember when I first started and I had a wisdom tooth out. They paid everything. Then you had all you had to do is show up. You ain't had no copay. They paid everything. All that changed. You know what I'm saying? The insurance, everything changed. You know what I'm saying? Throughout the years. You know what I'm saying? A matter of fact, I had
so
that one wisdom tooth. I had them take all 4 wisdom tooths out. They had to put me on. They had the surgery remove all 4 of them. They had to put me to sleep, and I didn't pay a penny. You know what I'm saying? It was. I mean, it was to talk about it. It's
when it
like
was
it's one
good,
of
it
them
was
situations
good.
where, huh?
When it was
Do
good,
what?
it was good.
Oh yeah,
When
yeah,
it was
yeah, yeah,
good,
yeah,
it was good. But when the
yeah. Most
demise
definitely. When it was
came,
good,
it came.
yeah.
Right. So I'm just trying to
Mm,
slow it down so people can understand some of the atrocities that you went through, but it was good at one point. So what I'm saying is this is 30,000 people that's out of a job. You were affected, but at the time you had just had surgery, so you weren't active on the shift. But you very calm for a person that just lost all of your pension. You put 17 years in with a company and you don't have any pension. And think about it. You in your
I done called
40s.
lawyers. I done did all. I mean, it's one of those situations, man. Just gotta have, believe in God and believe in yourself, and then this just goes to show you that it just shows you at a blink of an eye, everything can be wrapped. Everything can be taken from you. You know what I'm saying? So you just got to. I mean, you want to cry, you want to fight the world, but who, you know what I'm saying? But who you gonna fight? You know what I'm saying? What you gonna do? You know what I'm
Okay, so
saying? You
let's
wanna.
break it down like this. Where do you think the demise start coming when it comes down to yellow? Because it's a lot of finger pointing. There's a lot
The
of drivers
owner,
out of work.
the people in
No,
office, the people.
oh, right. We talking about the finger pointing, but well, I'm asking what kind of stuff were Yellow doing you felt like? Think about it. Yellow was doing things that other companies didn't do. Y'all didn't have a day bed in y'all trucks. Y'all had hotels or motels. So y'all were paying into, no, seriously, y'all were paying into this. Some
Mm-hmm.
owner operators got a day bed. Y'all were living in an actual room. Y'all could take a shower. Y'all didn't have to go to Love's or the other gas stations to take a shower. Yellow at one point were the high class of on the road because it was just different.
Oh,
You see what
oh
I'm
yeah,
saying?
we was up there. We was up there with UPS. We share the same union hall. The movies you do the movies, all that's Teamsters. These movies they doing here in Atlanta and the Southeastern Conference, all that's Teamsters. All that's ran by the same union.
But now 30,000 people. Let's break down like this. 30,000 people. Do you think some of these drivers will be able to get another job?
Nah.
And can you break down why you feel that some drivers can't get another job? You've been on the road. I've been knowing you since
I've
high
been driving
school,
since
but you've been on the
'99.
road since 99.
Yeah,
That is
I've been driving since
24
'99.
years. That's 24 years on the road. So the question is, you can bounce back because you're a little younger. Some of these drivers only drove with Yellow their whole life. 30 years, 30 plus years, only with Yellow. And the question is, I read an article, and that article said, I'm going to read this article. Let's read this article. Because what the article is saying is some drivers is going to have a tough time bouncing back and getting another job. That's
Yeah,
why I'm asking,
you
do
got
you
drivers
think
making
that
6 figures a year, easy. You know what I'm saying?
right?
The life, you know what I'm saying? The life they was living, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? They have a real nice lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? They have things that, toy, as old folks say, they got toys they play with, man, we had guys, one of the guys out of Charlotte, I think he retired. He used to play for the Gap Band, but he already had money before he came. I think he was a
Okay.
drummer or a guitarist. Man, you had a lot of people came that already had money that you had someone build their wealth there. You know what I'm saying? and you got a lot of them can't sustain the lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? The lavish homes, the cars. I mean, you got some people that really, you know what I'm saying, really was doing it. You know what I'm saying? Not only that,
Right.
paying for their kids to go to college. You know what I'm saying? You know, shoot, paying alimony. Could you imagine a man making that kind of money, paying alimony, child support, and now he lost everything, and now he got to still try to sustain, you know what I'm saying, what he lost?
Absolutely. Let me read this article real quick. This reads, laid off yellow drivers will have a tough time finding good jobs. And this is what it said. Since Sunday, Mark Roper, a truck driver for 32 years, has been out of a job, along with 30,000 of his fellow workers, now defunct transportation company Yellow. And for people that's tuning in now, Maxwell, although he spelled his name wrong, was a driver with Yellow for 17 years. He'd been driving for 17 years. He'd been driving since 1999. The other driver, he had to pump gas. He'll be back because that's the life on the road. He'd been a driver for 20 years. So these guys are experienced drivers. So let's talk about this. Roper, who turns 59 in October, said he's not ready to retire and has already started applying for jobs elsewhere. But the kind of trucking job he had at one of Yellow's regional carriers, the kind that lets him see his family every night, is difficult to find in the trucking business. For less common than jobs that keeps drivers on the road for weeks at a time, moving full trailers of freight. Roper said the company hasn't told him anything about severance. He's worked 28 years at Holland Freight, which Yellow bought in 2005. So for people that don't know, Yellow took on a lot of debt. They took on debt with Roadway. They took on debt with Holland. So that was two of the reasons why Yellow demise was there. When they stopped buying companies that was going under, Yellow start losing. They start losing money, and because a lot of their money start going in debt. All right, and then another thing that happened, a lot of these senior drivers pushed a lot of long-time Yellow drivers down because these guys didn't lose their seniority. So let's keep going. I figured that my severance is the unemployment I just filed for, he told CNN, but they're not telling us anything. Roper has already started applying for jobs at other unionized trucking companies, including part-time work at UPS and driving jobs at ABF, Freight, and T-Force. ABF is now, because of Yellow shutdown, ABF, if I'm not mistaken, has moved up until now one of the largest LTL companies now that Yellow is no longer there, and the longest running LTL companies. The difference in the particular sector of the trucking sector, Yellow, ABF, and T-Force all are what's known as LTL companies, or less than truckload carriers. They handle pallet-sized shipments of freight through a network of terminals. As a result, drivers are on the Pacific routes during the day, and most get home every night, as Roper has done. Well, Mr. Roper, if he apply for a new job, even though he got the age and he got the experience, if he get another job, he's going to move down in seniority, meaning he would not be able to get home every night. I don't believe so. Truckload carriers, which move full trailers of freight, make up a sector of at least 5 times as large as the LTL part of the business. Almost all companies in the truckload sector are hiring. If only due to annual driver turnover that averages between 55 to 60% and can reach as high as 100%, according to Satish Jindal, a trucking industry consultant. Now, raising a family on a trucking job, and I'm going to brief on this, and then we're going to get back into the discussion. Trucking overall has slowed in the past year. In 2021, With limited opportunities for travel and social gatherings, Americans are spending money on goods, not services, to help fill the void, and virtually every item in the home was on a truck at some point before it was purchased. But with opportunities for social experiences open back up, shopping for goods that need to be moved by truck has slowed. Hitting the industry, LTL shipments fell 17% between 2021 and 2022 and a 5% in the first quarter compared to the first quarter a year earlier, according to Tom Nightingale, CEO of AFS Logistics, a third-party logistics firm that places about 11 billion worth of freight annually with different trucking companies on behalf of shippers. So, like I just read, and what we are talking about, let's get back here. Make this. All right. All right. Somebody just said, this responded. Let's make this. All right. This gentleman said, I don't think they're going to shut down permanently. I think they're going to stay closed for the 6 months to abide by the union contract. And then he would continue restructure by doing away with the union branches and move all assets over to the logistics division, which is not union, and open back up. What do you think of that comment? He's talking about Yellow. He don't think they're going to shut down permanent. They're just going to get rid of the union and try to open back up. Can they do that?
From what I was told, they have to do a full Chapter 7.
Okay, can you elaborate on that?
Chapter 7 is they got to sell all assets and they can't come back in that company.
Okay, so Yellow is no more. They can't come back as a Yellow. They will have to rebrand and rename.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you think that they can have a chance to spin off? I'm just going off what Trucking Up is said. Do you think they can rebash themselves as another company? And do you think other drivers would trust him?
I don't know. I know Brown did it, but Brown came back as another. The Brown Transport came back as Brown something else. They changed the name. I know they did. I really don't. I don't see it. I don't think nobody. I mean, would you trust somebody who took all your money?
How much money do you think you paid in at 17 years pension? Honest. No, I'm being honest. How much do you think you paid in?
Man, I made them folks millions, man. Yeah, you got people before me make them folks millions, man. I mean, you gotta look the rate that we was paying, the rate that we was getting paid, what, $27 an hour. Then you get paid delay time. If you, man, Yellow was so sweet. I kind of giggled a little bit when you said, what's the name was getting gas. I remember back when, say for instance, we on the road and we needed fuel. We call in. They have somebody at the fuel pumps waiting on us to pump fuel for us.
So at one point, y'all didn't touch freight. Y'all didn't even touch fuel at one point.
No, you ain't did none of that. I mean, they like savings. I get caught in. You got caught in traffic. You got caught in traffic. Say you in Atlanta traffic. You in traffic for 3 hours. You ain't going nowhere. You call and you file for it. You get all that time. You get all that wait time. You know what I'm saying? You in the bed. They don't call you on your rest, your 10-hour rest. They don't call you. Guess what? You go on the clock. You charging for it. I mean, I mean, you got paid for everything. It's crazy because me first started driving our trucks non-union, coming over to a union side. It was like, man, this is like, man. It made you. I ain't gonna say soft, but it made you like, dang, like this really life. Like I remember when you had to unload trailers, you know what I'm saying, help assist and all that. You ain't did none of that with Yellow. You ain't touched nothing. You ain't do nothing.
In 17 years, you never touched freight with Yellow.
No, I ain't never touched freight with Yellow.
Okay, one moment. Trucking Up got another question. Why wasn't the union managing the benefits like they did in the old days? I thought that was the main benefit to a union. Can you elaborate on that?
Exactly. You know, and I think that goes back to your stewardess. Like when I first started there, I mean, we got good, you know what I'm saying, stewardess and representatives and stuff, but it, you know, through time, everything just got slow. You know what I'm saying? Everything just the whole union brand just got weaker and weaker. You know what I'm saying? People wasn't speaking up for you. You know what I'm saying? I remember times where people, you couldn't get fired. No matter, you just couldn't get fired at that job. If you had to get fired at that job, you had to resign from it. You just couldn't. I done seen people who do some of the craziest things and they still had their job. You might get
because
suspended
of the union saved them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you might get.
So what hand? I do want to know, because a lot of people want to know. As a driver with Yellow for 17 years, you've been driving since 1999. So Yellow is your longest tenured driving job over a span of 17 years.
Yeah.
So my question is, what role does Teamster play in y'all demise with Yellow? You can't just put all it on Yellow. Teamster has to have some role in that demise. Can you elaborate on that?
No, I think it's more Yellow because the money went to Yellow. Yellow wasn't paying, Yellow wasn't paying Teamster. Yellow wasn't paying the benefits. Yellow, you know what I'm saying? Everything come from them. They the one got to pay the money out.
Right. Teamster, it feels in a way, it just felt like they let y'all down in a way. I feel that way.
They don't feel it's yeah.
I'm not talking about Yellow. I'm talking about, it feel like Teamster let y'all down on the way too. Because Yellow supposed to pay Teamster, and Teamster refused to let Yellow keep munching on y'all. That's what I read. But and still the capacity, it still feels that Teamster had a role when they went more aggressive with Yellow. That's just the way I feel about that.
When we just got that extension for the 30 days, and they're supposed to make a payment in 2 weeks. 2 weeks would have been this week right here.
Right.
And they closed the door. So that goes to show you right there. It ain't, I mean, I'm pretty sure they got some, they might have got something out the deal, who knows? But I know the people that affect the most, the 30,000 that's laid off, it affects everybody, drastically. I mean, could you imagine, just say, Vincent, could you imagine paying the house note, paying your car note, hope it's about paid off, put your kids through school, and now you don't have nothing to fall back, nothing to get no money out of, to borrow from, or do anything, and now you got to go start off working from starting off, and the way the trucking game now is, rates are low, freight slow, the economy is booming for the internet, but they want the freight move for a cheaper price. So you, where once you might be making, let's just say $25, $30 an hour, you got to jump down to 15. How you gonna sustain everything? You know what I'm saying? You got to start all over from the ground. So it's a lot. I'm saying it's a lot to take in. It ain't just truck drivers in effect. Stores affect, because once we get the freight, it got to go to the stores. And like a lot of these stores, the departments, I see malls closing down because everybody going to online. But okay, everybody going to online to buy, which is a good thing. But guess what? Now, what they're trying to do now, they trying to get the freight moved for a cheaper price. That's why the ships being stuck out there at the port. The ships not coming in like they used to at the ports. They trying, everybody trying to do things. Everybody trying to do things for a cheaper price, and it affects everybody. It's gonna affect everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
So another question. They say that should be the main benefit of a union. Yeah, it was a great while working there, but now the guys that are at retirement or retired, what did the union do for them? It's all gone.
Not a damn thing.
Right. So I hope you was listening in.
Yeah, I did. I was listening to the conversation, and one thing I said, Yellow is ultimately the person that people have to run business, and I would say that when you're running the business at Yellow, it's like you have Teamsters. That's almost they're kind of almost secondary employees, right? It's a cost, and a lot of times in business, with this change in environment, it's tough. It's tough to manage costs. A lot of times, when business, if you really look at it, a lot of times we feel like, why would you take on a company with debt, right? People say, why you take on a company with debt? Why would you buy a company with debt? Because that debt that company that debt, yeah, they can usually kind of corner some kind of market, but a lot of times they're looking at cash flow. So it's looking like
Okay.
they could bring over a company that might be, yeah, that company might was failing, you know what I'm saying? But that company's cash flow might have been $500 million a year or even more, maybe $1 billion, you know, some of those companies. And then what they'll do is say, okay, if the debt only costs, you know, $300 million a year, you know what I'm saying, or whatever like that, or even if it's a whole lot closer, they might just, you know, it might be worth taking on that cash flow that kind of comes in. And a lot of times when business kind of make those moves where they taking on when they needed more cash flow, and you know the bailout came, and the biggest red flag, and I would just say it as far as the teams, as far as laying down, it never should have went. That pension has to be different. You cannot dip into the pension, and a lot of times that's why a lot of pensions have stopped, because if a company ultimately defaults, you know what I'm saying, then they always ask for money for to pay the pension. Firemen and policemen, they go into the government, hey, we need money for our pensions. It's a very, because you think about it, like it has to be run effectively. And then you borrow from them, you take from them, you do all these things with it just to kind of sustain. When the people start to need to retire off their pension, they don't have it. It's supposed to be the safest thing. You're supposed to not. So to me, for a business to dip into it, if you start thinking about, like, if you was an individual, would it be smart for you to dip into your pension? You know, your 401k? No. It wouldn't be smart to be dip into your 401k. You'd be like, no, I need that for retirement, right? So
Exactly.
I think for a union, for them to allow that to happen,
I
it's
think they
just
failed Yellow.
It's just egregious. And
I think
that's
they
just an
failed. I
egregious
think
move,
it failed y'all.
because it's one thing about a business closing. If you've been invested, had stuff for 20 years, then you can work another job and still invest into a 401k and feel like you've been doing something with your time. But to have that security, because you almost live your life is knowing that's there, for somebody supposed to be managing that, to mismanagement, it ain't really about trucker companies close. But to have that happen, it just it's really crazy. And the only way I would just kind of like look, thinking about things, like I always talk to people, and then, you know, as far as the entrepreneur, you know, it's risky. And my thinking of it is that if I have income, that if I invest in things that create income, that's my retirement, because it can make money as I, you know, as I live. You know what I'm saying? Just, you know, it gives money. But a lot of times when you put inside these companies to manage those things, or you start to look at certain things, a lot of things can change. And and as far as money nest is, companies, you know, can go out of business and that thing right there. So it's like, but when I first saw like they start tipping to retirement, I'm looking like, man, that is a not, that should be illegal.
So pause right there. Pause real quick. So the question is, do you think? Well, and I'm also reading trucking up message. This is what the non-union guys are trying to understand. So following up with trucking up is saying, do you feel that Teamster failed the yellow drivers, the union?
Yeah.
I don't think it's so much of. I mean, me looking at it, everybody, you know, you can point the finger at everything, but I think the bulk of everything is yellow, because yellow
It's
the
still
one
yellow, but Teamster is out in the dark. Teamster was supposed to get paid to fight for y'all. Did y'all pay union dues?
And they got law, and they didn't get their cut either. They didn't get their money
I understand,
either.
but do y'all pay union dues?
Yes, every month.
So why not one driver out of the 30,000 drivers that I read online, and I'm talking to a driver, why none of y'all know? I'm just being honest. None of y'all even have a clue what's next. You say, I heard this, I heard that. Yellow is giving nobody nothing definite. And that's a track that, honestly, that's bad.
Didn't they do that? Didn't Conway do the same thing? They try to come the next day, Conway, and they closed the doors, and they didn't tell them anything, and they didn't have a job.
Yeah,
Conway
but you didn't work for Conway. You worked for Yellow. So I'm just trying to say,
I'm just saying, to answer your question is a lot of companies that done that. You had a company, Brown Transport. It wasn't union, but you got a lot of companies that that fall bottoms out. You know what I'm saying? They try to sustain. First of all, I'm not trying to make no excuse for them because I lost a whole lot. I'm smiling now, but
I mean, be honest. Are you fearful in any kind of capacity? Are you in fear? Or are you not in fear?
Yeah, of course, because I don't know what my next move is. I know, and the crazy thing about it is, a lot of these companies don't like hiring union people. When they find out you union, a lot of people don't like to hire you because they think you're gonna try to bring that union there. That's another thing too. A lot of companies don't want to hire union people. You know what I'm saying?
And what are you ready to go back on the road if you have to? Because I know you've been doing it for 24 years.
I'm burned out with the road. I thank God that I'm in a situation where I didn't live too far above my means.
Okay, pause. So you are in a position where you probably can pull yourself out, but there are some guys, their kids going to their first year of college. They got a mortgage, first year of college. The wife need her insulin. Think about it. These are 30-year-old drivers. Wife need insulin. Wife might have a surgery. And
I know a man. I don't mean to cut you off, but I know a guy there. I know a guy their wife got cancer, and that's the only reason he's staying there. He basically working that job to take care of her because he can't afford her medicine. I know. And
now he's out.
As of the 6th of this month, he's gonna be out.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, and that's the thinking of it, because like I said, I work for the company, and I've done that. But what I found out as far as a company, the last company I worked at, it was going great. Then another company came and bought that company, and everything changed. A company, you would think that you would go there and it's a form of just being, it has some security, but I had a phone call. People always want to kind of call me, but at the end, what I found out sometime with a company is the most insecure thing. They could get bought out. They can change. They can of course let you go. And invest in there like long term. As far as what the programs they have to have. So instantly, I'm gonna say for instance, like the insurance programs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I used to love the company insurance, you know what I'm saying? But when I looked at how much the company insurance were actually charging, right? You had like very few options of what the company insurance have to charge. If you got hurt anywhere on the job, that was a kind of thing, right? As far as the connection between the insurance and all that other kind of stuff they were dealing with. And then it kind of locks you in. If you had to stay at that job, you have to kind of move. So it's just like now, it's like when you start talking about the insurance and things like that, it's just like, and people been inside companies for 30 years, it's almost like it should have to be some kind of federally governed like regulation, because even the Teamsters, like, what do they lose? What the Teamsters, I mean, the people who ran a union lose their jobs when they do several unions?
No, don't they? I think they didn't get paid, but I still think Teamsters still have their job.
And just like it's corruption and everything else, it deals with money on every different level, small level, other level. They go to the same. They go to the same golf clubs. Just like we talk about not to go so far. It's like a Democrat and Republican. Democrat and Republican, their kids go to the same schools. They go to stay in the same neighborhoods. They enjoy the same luxuries of life. And we think it's a difference. Just like you think it's a lot of times, it's not that much different. Your Teamsters are there and they kind of can do some things for you, but a lot of times that's a cost in itself. That Teamsters and that stuff, what they doing as far as the money, they take money just to manage all that. That's a management cost. So I do believe that they have some kind of falling out of everything, and then and I did say like where as far as their retirement, been driving 6 years, that's why I feel bad. I'm looking like, hey, the people who've been in that company past
30 plus
20
years, 32
past
years,
you might not be able to give everybody a pension, but maybe start with just people who've been there 20 and up there. Give somebody some pension. They get somebody,
especially when American
something
people.
left. Yeah, it's something left over. Even if you sell like, and it just it just sucks, man. I mean, that's a crazy situation to be in, and if I was at a job like that with a yellow, I would have still been working for them for 20 years. You know,
Exactly.
25, because they make it real, and make it real comfortable, and they make it real nice to work with. And a lot of times I think about, why leave there? Why leave a company where they're gonna pump your gas for you and do all that stuff for you and stuff like that? And it's just a wake up call, and it's just like and I'm sorry that had to happen to I can't even see his new screen now. I want to call him
Trucking up.
his
Trucking up.
trucking up. Yeah. So but it's just a sad, it's a crazy situation though. I'll let y'all go.
He said, I can understand a union with the government job because the government would bail out a government pension, but they would not bail out a private pension. Now, you're not wrong in what you're saying, but here's the thing, and what people fail to realize. Yellow received $700 million PPP from the government. They received the PPP themselves. It was $700 million. Out of that $700 million trucking up, they also received additional money in that same time frame. They were supposed to pay these guys pension because that was part of the reason of receiving the PPP. It was supposed to pay down the debt and then pay down the pension and the debt. They received up to $1.5 billion. So my question is, why didn't Yellow follow suit with some of their interactions that they told the government? So we are on the hook as American people for this trucking company shutting down. But
Yeah.
carry on, Aaron.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a part of it. Everybody can say what they could have done and stuff like that or whatever. I do know if you take the money out the pension, what you put the money with the money. When you take the money out the pension, it's a double cost, right? Because of a lot of times, you know, the cost of taking things out and stuff like that, and then it's not making any money if it's outside the pension. So you're losing on both ends on that side. So it's just like that's what just the whole thought of you having to take money out of the pension. Hell, if you paid everything back into the pension after they took it out, it would have been it would have been a loss on both ends. But
Exactly.
taking the stuff out and trying to put it back in, because you know, if you put it in some kind of interest based ways where the pension can make money just by sitting down. So it's just a bad. It's just bad way to just kind of do things, and then it's just indication that, you know, that they were in trouble. The company was in trouble, and a lot of times when a company gets in trouble, the least that they're not going. If you're a company that's in trouble and you have having a union is too good. Most time having a union gives you the better qualified trained workers, because they're going to stay there
Okay.
a long time. They're going to do what they need to do. They're going to be happy about the job with all the same. That's a good thing. But when you get in trouble, it's going to be hard to maneuver when you have a union. You can't just lay off workers. You
That makes
can't just
sense.
do the necessary cuts that you need to do when a company's in trouble when you have a union. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's like a double-edged sword. You could go union, but then the people, when you hit these crazy times of transportation, because it has been a crazy time, it's gonna be tough to really maneuver that with a union. But it's a good, and it's a double-edged sword, I believe, as far as the
I
union is
believe that
concerned.
too. Let me read this from Trucking Up. That was COVID related, though that went to a lot of companies, not everyday occurrence. Yeah, but Trucking Up, what you got to understand, that 700 million that Yellow received, that was one of the largest bailouts. Think about, I remember IFG when Bush bailed them out. This was less noticeable because that was during the time where the car companies was going down and all these car companies was going down. But at this point, the government gave away so much money. But at the same time, what we are saying is Yellow did not do what they were supposed to do to these workers. These workers are not only out of a job, they don't even know if they can file for unemployment. And some of them have sick family members. going through pregnancies, and they have, out of a blink of an eye, have no insurance or no anything in a blink of an eye. And I just think this is a travesty that we are dealing with. And that's the point that I'm saying. Yeah, a lot of companies got bailed out, but some companies were able to take that bailout money and they still trucking, point intended. But some companies have taken the money and they are going out of business. So my question, Aaron, since I don't know if Maxwell can unmute and answer this, what happened to these trucks now that they go bankrupt? Do they sell the trucks to other companies and pay down debt?
That they don't own all those trucks. Those trucks is already, and then a lot of times some of those companies that when you start defaulting, people who have a UCC filing, meaning they got them in place just in case you default, that those trucks are already claimed for. They're gonna try to all your possessions, even if you file a Chapter 7. That's they're gonna try to just take all the possession. They're gonna just try to liquidate it, and some people might get some of their money, but a lot of times their biggest investors are gonna be tied into the business where they get the first of everything.
Right.
You know, so it's like, so it probably be like, you know, so it's not like Yellow owns something and be like, hey, I own a $5 million worth of trucks, and I'm just gonna sell these $5 million like they're mine. They don't even. I'm pretty sure where they're at right now, they don't even have any tangible assets that they own fully. Because then again, you know, it depends on what their freight is and everything like that. And that's another thing that some companies have done. That maybe Yellow and line, and that's one of the tougher business I would say inside transportation, because I work for Central Transport, which is a line haul company, and then they were ran kind of raggedy. You know, that they'll let you go, and your insurance will be done that second they let you go. You only got a day or 2 or 3 to go ahead and do it. Their equipment was kind of shoddy, and they still rolling around, but it's kind of like it's not running as strong as you would think of a company that's been in business for 90-something years. You know, that would be a little bit kind of firm on how they move. You know, then so like what's another company that's been around longer, like Snyder. You know what I'm saying? And Snyder, they, instead of just expanding and buying just companies like that, they basically do their own insurance, right? They have their own. They kind of got, it's like they got the houses like a monopoly board. You got the houses, you got the hotels, and you start owning the blocks. They got then they broker freight, they carry freight, they do everything. You know, they just kind of add to with their business. Yellow, sometimes the line haul companies, that's all they do is line haul. So that's all their revenue. You know, so it's like when something hits hard, you know, they don't have other streams of revenue and stuff to kind of pull from. If the in the boats, if Snyder pulls freight out the rail, off the port, if the port shut down, Snyder got the land, the intermodal, they doing. So it's just like with line haul companies, it's just not them. I think that it's tough for them all. You know, it's just a tough. Now, some of the drivers with the Teamsters, I think, could do, or some of the drivers that could probably do. They could probably find other line haul, some line haul jobs, right? Because ABF, they probably, you know, this stuff is just new to us. So like they said, they all, you know, they all stay in the same neighborhood, right? They
Right.
probably already started to expect this, and then they're going to be taking on some of that work. They don't really have the kind of drivers enough to handle it. But Tony said something interesting, that ABF is not union. Would they even want to hire on a union company? You see what I'm saying?
The
So I'm
union
not sure
driver.
if
A
a
union driver, you mean. Right.
yeah, so
So
I might,
ABF is not union.
I'm not sure if they union or not. I don't believe so. I know they have seniority. They might be union though. They might be union because I know they got a
I'm
normally
looking
companies
it
that.
up now. It's a ABF is the largest subsidiary of Fort Smith-based shipping logistics from ArcBest, and it says they got 137 local unions under the Teamsters umbrella.
Okay.
So this is
So
another
yeah,
company. This is another company that
that's
is
ran
quote
by
unquote union. But like Trucking Up said, I feel like if I was going to work for a union in a private business, I would have to go in with the understanding that they would help it in the basically saying representation and may not be there in the future. That's a good assessment, because even though Teamster have represent so many companies, you clearly see when a company want to shut down that a union has no basis to help this company prop up. So it's like the union is there, but they don't have a full grip on these companies. And you paying it through the company, you paying to that union, but you still don't have a full grasp on it. But carry on.
Yeah, so maybe, and then maybe some things that then like some of the acquisitions, I think that it probably didn't pan out for them. But I started to kind of think about like these practices of going into the pensions and things like that. Maybe some of the other truck companies unions are doing it as well. I don't think it's just ABF doing it. It's not, apparently it's not against the law. So it just we find out about all this stuff now because it's a big this happened. And a lot of times things have to change. You know what I'm saying? Like they had to when the banks went through, they went through and stuff like that. It was a lot of changes. They tightened up on the credit, they tightened up on everything like that. And that's what's gonna happen to the trucking company. ABF, all these companies gonna be trying to get some law. It's gonna be hard to expand because banks are gonna want to know, like, hold on now, it's highly volatile. And the one thing about trucking companies, some banks don't even allow trucking companies to sign on with them because it is a very volatile business. And they don't, and then a lot of times they just don't want to be involved in a lot of. They got burnt a lot even before, and they don't want to be involved around it. But it's a highly volatile business, and then even with, I know that everybody looking at, because I guess I'm biased on the end of like I see the employee side of it, but I also see the business side of it, and and the volatiles of what's kind of going on out there as far as all the other rates are called like insurance, fuel, and trying to work with Teamsters to try to maneuver around all these things that kind of make some things happen. Because me personally, it almost seems like they got put in a position that's a lot of overspending. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes I'm thinking about like, do you need somebody to pump your gas?
And that's what I was going to say. Like
you know what I'm saying? Like
what I was trying to get Maxwell before his battery went dead. That's why he docked off. I was trying to get him to understand in the sense that the demise of Yellow, because when you had to click off, I was asking him what was the demise of Yellow, and he was saying they had petty cash at one point. One point they had somebody to pump their gas. All of their trucks never had day beds. They always had just beds, and they got them hotel rooms. That type money keep mounting up. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like that money got to come from someplace.
Because if you don't have day beds, right, you're limited on how you can even run. So if you're at a place right now, if you're there for 3 hours or 4 hours or something like that, I mean you can't. I mean you can't get no rest. You gotta. I mean, you gonna sleep on sleep. They're not really rest. So it's a disadvantage to be able to have to. A driver has to find a place to go to a hotel room. Now normally the line haul there, you wouldn't think there'd be having to use a hotel actually. They carry the whole point of it is to gather up all the freight. This was an LTL. They gather up all the freight. Say for instance a whole bunch of partials, because people their model is built upon making shipment cheaper. If you had a piano get moved, if you put all that piano it started from Georgia going to California, if you need a whole truck, that piano movement is gonna cost you $5,000 at least to get from Georgia to somewhere in California. If you go LTL, that same piano move might only cost you $1,200.
Really?
Because what they're gonna do is somebody's gonna come and pick that piano up. Maybe they have an like that smaller little trucks or whatever like that, or just somebody's gonna come. You're gonna get that piano pick up. It's gonna get put to a hub which they have. You know, a docks. You know, most of the time the building just has an office and it got 2 docks on each side. And what they do is they bring in all the products. They're taking all the products out the trailer. Say if you got a piano from Georgia, you got a piano from South Carolina, you got a piano from Alabama, and a piano from Florida. They'll always find their way to a meet part in Georgia. And what they'll do is, if all those pianos are going to California, they'll put them all together going to California. So if you put them all together, that $1,200 that piano, the other $1,200 for other piano. Well, you shoot 5 pianos, you got $5,000. But you know that to pay towards the driver to get it there, to get to California. So that way each individual only had to pay $1,200, which equaled up to that amount that it took to ship. So that's why they do a line haul, a lot of line haul situation when the trucks come in. Say for instance, they might have a truck that's going to, I'm gonna say Atlanta, I know the area. If a truck's going to Marietta area, the smaller truck where they normally use the pub trailer, like a 26-foot trailer that can go into the smaller areas. And what they can do is, and it has a lift gate on it too. So it can really go through almost in the neighborhood or somewhere on a small business and really deliver that directly to the door or directly somewhere another business. A lot of times they use a lot of businesses to kind of do that stuff and drop it down and then be able to deliver that at a cheaper cost, because everybody don't have, a lot of small businesses don't have a truckload of stuff they need to deliver there a month. You know what I'm saying? Or a lot of times some people don't take it a year. So it's a real use for the line haul division, the truckload, the less than truckload, LTL, less than truckload division. Without them, it's gonna put some strain on.
It's going to
I
be, the
guess.
freight going to be a lot more expensive, correct?
Yeah. Well, that could do it as much, make the freight more expensive. But other companies like ABF, you might be creating some smaller companies. A lot of independent contractors could come in and slap. They might do, like, say ABF. They might go out and get a whole bunch of independent contractors or owner ops and be like, hey, we're gonna temporarily sign us on, because then the owner ops are not union, and what you can do is just use them to kind of catch up the freight. They catch everything up, and then you could just stop using them tomorrow if you want to, and you're not really attached to them. They got their own insurance, they got their own personal liability, and you don't have to deal with that.
So
as far as that.
so the owner operators driving their own trucks then.
Yeah, the owner operator own their own trucks, and they might they might let them use their trailers, but
So who's
they have
billing for the fuel? Who paying for the fuel?
the owner ops. Now they'll pay them more.
They're
They'll pay
paying
the
them
owner
more.
ops more
Okay,
than the
gotcha.
driver, right? So
Right.
they what I'm saying? So it's like, that's a way where they can kind of use the owner op, the independent contractors that kind of come in and kind of fill in the gap. And a lot of times that's why they're users of independent contractors, because they can pick up some things and work for you a week. If it's a claim or something like that, they own insurance to cover it. If they hook up to those LTL trailers, then that ABF owns, their insurance will cover the stuff in those trailers and that's too. So everything. So a lot of times that's a route that they will take. They might be having to pay slightly more, but that's a way to take in the extra stuff, because people still need. That's a lot of freight. People got freight coming back and using other carriers, so it's going to be a surplus of less than truckload freight that's kind of coming on. I've been looking for it, actually, just to try to look on the different areas and saying, okay, where is this freight going to be coming to, and what are they going to be doing with it? What I'm saying, with the freight.
So when companies go out of business like this, would that benefit you as an owner operator?
To me, I think my philosophy is that in trucking is all, instead of just saying that less fish in the pond, I think like the more boats rise the tide. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it does hurt the trucking industry, because really it's not really like what's hurting the trucking industry is not enough freight in the trucking industry. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
That's not really what's really hurting the trucking industry. It's the barriers of entry into the trucking industry and things like that I think got affected, is affecting it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe in
Right.
the future, as far as getting your truck and stuff like that, one of the requirements instead of just learning how to drive might be a business class. You know, I wish that was
Mm.
offered to me when I first joined, started being an owner op. They do a mandatory business class, because how you run your truck individually is going to affect the trucking industry. You taking rates that's too low. You're getting insurance claims. You're getting cargo claims. So if you got people who are forced to take some kind of general class, that everybody has a general understanding of what the rules and regulation is, I think that would change. That would change the trucking industry, because you just have a lot of independent contractors out here that, especially PPP time, they just bought some trucks, right? And they put foreigners in there, people who don't, and then they could get a lower rate, right? There's just volume, you know what I'm saying? So it's just, and then when that
So
business model don't
so why don't you
won't
do
work,
a
then
webinar? Why don't you do a webinar, and you can actually use my platform. You can do a webinar where you can actually do a class about owner operators, because
yeah,
this a
yeah,
void there. It's definitely a void there, and you have so much knowledge as a person that's been driving for 20 years. Is a void. So you
Yeah,
lift that void.
yeah, yeah. And like you said, there are a lot of platforms out there saying the same thing that I'm saying, and I don't mind like doing like I'm doing, going on here and making the videos a lot of times. But trucking industry is very hard to make kind of videos, because people want
Not a
people
video,
don't
a
know. Yeah,
webinar.
webinar, yeah, webinars and stuff like that. Yeah, you could, yeah, and that's fine, But it's to me, I just, I know we come over here, we start talking about with yellow and owner ops and the problems and the things that were going on with that. I just think that, you know, it's it's just sad it happened, but things like that happen so people can learn and adjust, and not do the same thing. If you get on with a company now, if you're a truck driver, maybe use your own, try to get private insurance. It's very
Mm.
good. It's way better than it used to. Now we ain't talking about Obamacare necessarily. We ain't talking about Obamacare. Maybe you could get private insurance. You get the same kind of deduction right off the end of the year. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you had the private insurance and things like that. And then you could control if you get fired for a job, not waiting 30 days to get a new insurance, or being scared to leave a job or quit a job because you got to get some dental work done, or being scared to leave a job and get wherever you're doing this, because that's what happens there. Having your own get your own 401. You can have the 401k plan there finally if they invested in a market. But anything that's talking about trying to trap you in there, you want they don't even have the old fashioned pensions anymore, because they stopped doing that because too many companies were doing exactly what Yellow were doing. Oops, it's in the money, we borrow from it, and it's like a little separate bank account. So
That makes a lot of sense.
get all your money to the, the company 401k and stuff like that, because they guess what the company gets when you invest. You think that the companies say, hey, I want to start a 401k because I care about my drivers? No. Even the healthcare share, they are getting kickbacks on everything that they do. 401ks and all that stuff. It benefits a company when they start those programs. It helps a company.
Right.
So and manage that yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, if people would say that the match is 4%, got to match everything up to the 4% and invest something else totally somewhere else, in your own kind of index fund or something like that. Because, allowing these companies to manage our life long term, it is, at this point, I think people is insanity right now. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? It shouldn't even be trusted at all. You know what I'm saying? They can't manage, the government can't manage the government, and these companies, private companies, they ain't managing companies. They getting bailouts. You know what I'm saying? When was the last time we got a bailout personally? If you
That
think
makes
about it to that
sense.
magnitude. You know what I'm saying? And they're not even talking about the other thing they give. You know how many banks out there they gave them just pay the interest and just don't pay any money at all? How many banks are going to default from this? How many private
Wow.
investors? How many private investors are going to lose money because of their mismanagement and stuff like that, or everything? So this thing is going to stretch. They got buildings that they lease from people, from leasing companies and
Mm.
stuff like that. They have fuel. You got people who relied on them that did their fuel through, or any kind of services that they had contracts with. Right now, it's a rip or a thread down when you're that big. It's not, so it's not really good. It's more than the drivers that are going to be affected, kind of coming down the pipeline. Because trucking industry, it's thing. You think about all the diesel and trucks were starting to move, right? You got all the fuel stations. They got employees. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Just the stuff just with the trucking. You got all the mechanics that work on the trucks. You see, I'm
Think
being
about the
a lot of
hotels.
diesel mechanics.
The hotels
You
is
got the
not going to be filled.
the truck tires. You know what I'm saying? The truck, I mean, trucks, even money for the state, it's taxes on each gallon that truckers spend. So if you go through, if you're going through Georgia, you're going through whatever like that, you're gonna have to pay on that. You're gonna have to pay taxes. So everybody is in the pocket of, the truck drivers, and then so it is a big business. That's why they say a lot of times they kind of dictate the economy based on how the logistic transportation ends if it's in a recession. Now, it's one of the indicators that they use.
Right.
So, but it's a whole lot of things. People will, when people start talking about trucking, it's a lot of times it's an agenda. They're not really trying to make change because the system is made perfectly for the wealthiest people in this country and the people who have control. So it's not like, so when people say we want to do things for the trucker, which is very rare, or the trucker's life, or we worried about the truckers and the trucker safety and all this other kind of stuff going on. A lot of it, I don't, what I'm saying, it doesn't really matter. And then, honestly, if this was 30,000 other workers, sometime I think, what I'm saying, from another industry or something like that, maybe it would get more outcry. What I'm saying? Because think about 30,000 employees dropped off at the same time. What I'm saying? People don't think about, a driver as being so sympathetic as Susie working at IBM or somebody, or somebody else, like some other company or something like that. So
Right.
it's that's just my thoughts about it. And but I do think that sometimes some things have to happen for people to kind of do change and stuff like that. And then you got to think about it, all these other union places, the IBF, and all these other UPS. I bet they looking like, get that look on their face like it's not much. It wouldn't be much a Teamster could tell me right now talking about some not after what just happened over there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean,
That makes a lot of
yeah,
sense.
I'll be trying to get me a separate investment plan, and I'll be almost trying to retire early on
You're right. So I think a
them.
lot of people are
Retire.
probably looking at this and they probably saying, we gotta go, what I'm saying? If you drove for a company 30 some years, you got a lot of people retiring right now for some of these companies, so they won't be in this same threshold.
Yeah, you gotta have something. You gotta have something going on. I know. It's just so important. It's in this new age. What I'm saying? Like, and it's a shame that it happened to them. It's like things are going to be so they're so changing, and the experience is not going to matter so much anymore. If they have with the technology they have in their trucks, who cares if you've been driving for 20 years? A person for 5 years can be performing the same thing person at 20 years with all the technology. Who
That
cares?
makes sense.
You know what I'm saying? And then what's the use for the 20-year-old guy anymore? Or paying or having to kind of do it. So it's like the gap between technology and everything is moving so much faster. It just, you got to be on the defensive. And then when you go into these companies and you look at the brochure on a piece of paper and they show the people hugging and the black and white guy, because they're gonna be diversified and everything on there, and make everything is politically correct, and everybody's happy, and retirement and showing a young guy, and at the back of the page showing an old guy hugging his grandkids and stuff like that. You know, that's not going to be reality. And the reality is that you could be putting a lot of your time into something that it seems like security, but it's not security. If you know what I'm
So
saying, it
as an
seems
owner operator, do you feel safe as an owner operator? Do you
I feel
sometimes
yeah.
are you just aware of what may happen in the blink of an eye as a driver?
Well, I felt probably like I felt like Yellow has felt a whole lot, but individually, I'm in more control of what I can do. You know, what I'm saying, on
Okay.
I don't have a Teamsters union. You know that I can. You
Mm.
know, we let some. I let a guy. We had to let some guys go because of the industry and stuff like that were doing. They ended up working somewhere else. I had to turn in some equipment. I had to do a whole lot of stuff. But at least you're in control. The worst feeling in the world is not being in control of something that you don't like.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like going when I went to work and we had all these meetings and all this stuff about changing things, and then and then you'll be like, oh, you be in a meeting all vocal, we're gonna change things, and then but very little change is done. You know what I'm saying? You're not really in control of what some things happening. You know what I'm saying? And here, if I want to work in Georgia one day, I can work in Georgia one day. And the weather's like nice in California, I go and take a load to California. If it's over here, I can do that. Oh, people say that, hey, oh man, I can't be on the road like that. I'm gonna be way in California. Hey, catch a plane back.
That makes sense.
You know what I'm saying? Get the plane back. You know what I'm saying? Like it's so this whole thing about working working your butt out 14 hours a day just so you could be at home and be what, tired? You know what I'm saying? Or being and how many local what's the competition for local jobs right now? Local driver jobs. How many what's the like what I said, what's the if you're trying to be, that's what I said, like the Teamsters, when we talked, the guy talking about I can't do over the road.
Right.
I can't do over the road. And that's fine because I build myself business around to trying to do the things that people don't like to do because they pay more.
Mm.
And then
But his age is 59, 60 years old, so it's still
yeah,
a
yeah,
gap in
yeah, yeah.
age
But
there
but,
too.
but I was talking about the other driver that you had on, and that's why I said around that age, between 50 and I said you cut it 50 to 60 and give those guys a pension because they can't really adjust inside this transportation industry.
Right.
They did not. They really they screw because 60 they not gonna really trying to go do a job and do all this stuff. It's not gonna really be able to work. But you can make a killing stealing driving for about 10 years if you put everything to the wall. And like I said, if I work for Yellow, I said this earlier. If I work for Yellow, I probably would have been. Sometimes it's a blessing. Some things are a blessing. I would have still been working there because I mean they offer so much. It's a great company. As far as working there, being under the union, working under the union, I ain't saying that the company's great, but working under the union is better working conditions.
Right.
Than not working non-union. So I don't. Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and be crazy like, oh man, you'll never catch me there 30 years. Now I'd have been there 31 years.
Right. Right.
I've
Right.
been there 31 years.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Because they gave all
but
the perks. They gave the
yeah,
excellent
they
perks.
gave all the perks. I'm like, come on now, even being an owner operator here, man. I got a number. If you pay this number right here, like, hey man, I don't got to pay no title across my chest. It's about the money coming in the bank, and it's a piece. That
Mm-hmm.
when like I'm worried about what low is gonna be next day on Saturday, or what everything is, and then but if you go to a job, you do your hours, you go home. It's
That
no
makes
worry as
sense.
far as that. So, but I will say that I do like, I don't want to think like, oh man, there is some ways to get done, or yellow drivers are crazy for being no. That's not it. But we can analyze where once things have already gone wrong, what ways to probably adjust in the future. And one thing as me, I will be more in control of my finances, my insurance, and just in case somebody be the second yellow.
But
Because
you got
just
to
like that
understand this though, also, not to cut you off. As an entrepreneur, owner operator, your mindset is different than a person that's an employee that only work for one company. They're not programmed to think in the capacity that you were referencing. They are thinking totally different than what you think about, because they are what you called an employee. They work for somebody, and that's why a lot of these guys are out in the cold, because how some of the mindset is from working for somebody versus being on the other side, where you had to work, find it, pay yourself. It's just a different set of circumstances.
It is a different mindset, and but events can change people to change their paradigm. Not everybody, but it's just about being naive and just being really, really careful, just thinking about protective over your just your livelihood and kids. It's just gonna have a thought, and all I gotta do is plant a seed. And people that work in a union, you don't have to take much, because when they see it, when they come in that meeting talking about some, hey guys, we're gonna have to make some pension adjustments. People gonna be like, oh well, hold on. It's not gonna ring the same way as it rang before. So it's already that ABL. Well, I mean, what happened there? I think it's already gonna start changing some things. You know what I'm saying? I think it's gonna start changing some things as far as the industry and stuff like that for the good. They're for the good. I mean, and unfortunately, that those 30,000 drivers are going to be, they're going to be
Looking for
part of the
jobs.
new, they're going to be part of the new change of the industry, because other companies are going to start doing some things kind of differently. The banks are going to do things differently, and like I say, it hurts everybody as far as the drivers. That one thing, like on the owner operator side and the other side, that stuff still affected. It's still drivers. It's not that much different from, like you see, I got this headset in my head right now, so I mean, I work for my own company, but it's not like a miles away from a difference from working for a company. Because we both, in a sense, entity-wise, we're both working for companies.
Right.
So so I'm not beyond that of other drivers and things like that. And a lot of drivers think, by the time you said, if you're a one truck organization, when you do all the numbers at the end, they may very well close to owner operator, especially a driver being there working for a union for 20 years.
Right. That makes
So
sense. Well, let me ask you
but
this before we get on out of here. Are you looking to hire any of the yellow drivers that may need a job?
we don't do no, but of course, yeah. But the thing, and me and my business partner, we talked about this earlier, about it's gonna be tough to match that expectation that they have as far as comfortability. It's too soon. Maybe in a year or two or something like that, it might, to kind of be more kind of stuff. But like right now, they're gonna want, yellows right here as far as unions are up here as far as doing drivers. If I tell, if we start telling driver to pump their gas, they're gonna be like, hold on, y'all pump gas? How do we do that? How do we
Exactly.
pump? You mean touch that? What do y'all call a diesel? Yeah, what I'm saying? Their hand gonna be smooth as baby, so I may have to be out there. I hire them, but I just got to be out there ready to pump the gas and open the door and wipe the steering wheel down and all the other stuff. Get their white
And they got
gloves.
to understand they're gonna sleep in that bed in the back of that cab versus
Oh
sleeping in the hotel
yeah,
room.
yeah. Sleep in
So it's
there. You
gonna
know what I'm
be
saying? Just
a
yeah,
wake up call. It's definitely gonna be a
yeah,
wake up call for a lot of these
yeah.
guys.
But if they stay
So
in a hotel, they stay in a hotel. It's gonna be super though. It's gonna be super. 8.
it's
You
gonna
know what
be.
I'm saying? but they're gonna be, you know,
But tell the
go
people
ahead.
how they can find you and locate you.
Oh,
Just in
well,
case you do
I
want to
got
do
my
that
IG.
webinar.
Yeah, I got my IG down, and most of the time on the social media, I haven't really, as far as the business of being able to adjust over to the other life of promoting the business and doing all that as far as working. Our drivers that we have, like, personal relationships too, and a lot of the drivers we get is from people of referral, that people we know, and we don't really we haven't done any Indeed and anything like that, but I'm open to anybody who really doing business, because when you're a small business like I am, we don't have employees. To make it work, you need business partners, basically.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? You can't have a person who only cares about just getting that check and going home. It's too, because the margin is so much smaller. You know what I'm saying, for things where things that kind of go wrong. So you need people, we end up probably paying them more, you know what I'm saying, than the normal non-union jobs, and just checking in more, you know what I'm saying. So it's like, instead of just one thing about it, like me and my business partner, even if we're not driving, a lot of times on some loads we came and rescued the loads, or got the driver, or release some pressure from the driver, saying, "Hey man, I thought I'm feeling sick. Okay, well let me go ahead and I go ahead and get the load, or bring the load back, or whatever like that." But but yeah, I mean, you go on IG OP_cash flow. You'll find me on there. I don't have a post a lot of things, but I definitely do read messages and do network. And I know they got an Invest Fest coming up in this month in Atlanta. I think it's the 25th, 26th. So I'll be there trying to listen and network, and I just want to network a whole lot more. So I'm really open to, people who are interested in trying to get inside the engine, hit their own truck, or do whatever, So so whatever, that's what way you can find me in Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia. All right, so everybody, thank you for tuning in. We want this. The other gentleman dropped off. His battery died. He wasn't prepared for this long of a meeting, I guess.
I was bringing that heat. He had
yeah,
in
I
the
think
studio. I was
so.
about to bring it to him. Yeah,
I think so. He should have charged up his phone, because there was some great heat. And I think trucking up for your comments. If you tune in to this live and you watch it on repeat, make sure you hit up OP Cash Flow on IG if you got any questions about trucking. This won't be the last time he come on the channel, because it's some other stuff that he touched on that we definitely want to speak about in this trucking industry. So this is Antonio with Team Tiggio.
If you want to have me on here again, you're gonna have to talk to my union rep. So go ahead.
We'll definitely do that. I'll get my wife to call your wife. So we'll definitely be in contact. I'll definitely bring him back on, hit him on IG. Any comments or concerns about the trucking business, and he definitely will respond. And if you got too many questions, it's definitely going to cost you a consultation charge. So don't be scared to spend a little money to learn a lot. All right. So this is Antonio. It's OP Cash Flow, and we will see y'all next time.
All right.